Welcome to episode 1 of Psychology Mastery, which is the steps to take to master your mind in trading. This is arguably my most important series on my YouTube channel, and this is episode 1. We're going to be discussing accountability. In my personal opinion, I think the first step to mastering trading psychology is accountability. Now, before I get started, this is going to be boring for some of you. Some of you have already clicked off this video, and that's okay. But there are a few select who want to learn from my experience, what I've read, what I've heard from professional traders, the podcasts I've watched, the experience that I've had in the last 2 years, mistakes that I've made, successes that I've had, and basically everything that I know that has to do with mastering your mind in trading. So if you are still here after that little speech, let's get started. This is a no time waste series. Part 1 is accountability. If you are not holding yourself accountable, stop everything, and that is the first thing you have to do. First thing that we're going to talk about is why is accountability the very first step. Now I have notes here, so I'm going to use these notes to help demonstrate and get through the point very quickly, okay? The first step is accountability. Every single day that you trade, you need to know what you did wrong. That is the number one first thing that you need to do. Because if you cannot determine this, you cannot improve. The quote that I like here is very simple. You cannot fix what you are not aware of. So if you are not holding yourself accountable and you are not aware of the trading errors or mistakes that you are making, then you are not going to improve. So the very first step to mastering psychology is mastering accountability. You need to learn how to hold yourself accountable and look to improve. Why is this important? Every single day, you need to ask yourself questions to hold yourself accountable. The reason this helps you is, and I'm going to use an example to teach why this helps you. Let's say, for example, one day you broke a rule and you never even realized that you broke a rule. If you continue this cycle, you are never going to improve. However, if you can realize that you broke a rule in your trading system, then you can improve. You say, you know what, next time I'm not going to break that rule because I see what happens when I do, right? And that's how you improve. Now, that's a very simple example. Let me give you another example that goes a little bit more in depth. For example, say you move your stop loss to break even, which is not in your rules, and you made that decision because you did not want to lose on the trade, and then the trade plays out, right? That is a mistake that you need to be aware of. If you do not hold yourself accountable for moving your stop loss too early onto the trade, you are not going to be aware of the mistake that you made, right? Unless it's in your specific criteria or rules to move your stop loss to break even after a certain point, you should not be doing that, right? And if you are doing that without any logical reason besides fear of losing, you need to take accountability. You have to say, okay, today I moved my stop loss too early. I was scared of losing, and that is a mistake. Next time, I'm going to try to remind myself that, you know what, my stop loss is there for a reason. I'm only going to move it if I see this or that. And that's the step of accountability that matters. Now you probably understand why this is the first step and why it is important. Because if you cannot hold yourself accountable, if you cannot accept the mistakes you are making and be aware of the mistakes you are making, you are simply not going to have the opportunity to improve every single day. So let's talk about how you stay accountable. I'm going to give you 5 questions that I think you can ask yourself every single day to hold yourself accountable. All right? And I'm just going to copy paste it because I have the questions right here. And boom. These are the 5 questions. Question number 1. Did I follow my entry criteria? This is a very simple question. It should be yes or no. If not, you need to take accountability and say, next time I am going to, right? Number 2, did I follow my trading rules, right? Did you trade in the right time? Did you risk the correct amount? Did you take the correct amount of trades? Did you take profit where you're supposed to? Follow your stop loss where you're supposed to? All these questions, all these things that you need to have figured out, at least some sort of logic, figured out beforehand, before you place a trade, you need to know, right? Otherwise, if you're breaking a rule, very simple fix, okay? Now, question number 3. Would I take this trade again? Understand why and journal it. Let's say you would take this trade again, right? That's an important thing to journal, because if you take that trade and you are happy with what happened with the trade, not that you should be happy, but if I mean you were satisfied with the logic and the edge of the trade that you took, journal that. Tell yourself, I'm happy I took this trade. It is a good trade. It meets my criteria. I hope to take it again next time, whether it wins or loses. Now, let's say you take a trade and you lost and you said, you know what, I would not take this trade again. You need to take accountability right then and there and say, you know what, I took a trade that I should not be taking. Write down why. You have to understand why you shouldn't take that trade. Maybe you entered shorts in premium or in discount, sorry. If you're entering shorts in discount and you are losing and you are taking accountability for it, well, ding, 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 it says it right there. I should not take shorts in discount. I would not take this trade again. I've taken this trade before and I was unhappy with the outcome. So why am I taking it again? Learn from your mistakes. But notice the first step in that is accountability. Next question. Was I emotionally influenced by any of my trading decisions? You should always be doing what is logically logically makes most sense for your trade. Not emotion driven, not based on the P&L. You cannot close a position. I mean, you can, but you probably should not close a position just simply because you're up a certain amount of money or down a certain amount of money. It should be logic, precision, edge, and statistics, not emotion, not it's going too fast against me, or I'm panicking, I don't want to lose, I'm going to close, I'm moving my stop loss too early, taking profit too early, holding too long because I need to make back what I lost. Any of those emotions that may influence your decision, take accountability for. For example, if you took profits too early because you wanted to make money and whatever you got, you were good, you need to write down, I took profits too early because I wanted to make sure that I made money. However, my edge says I should have held the trade, right? You write that down, take accountability, and next time you say, okay, you know what? Last time, I closed it too early. This time, I'm going to accept the outcome and say, you know what? My edge says to hold it to this level, but that's what I'm going to do, and let the edge play out in your favor. This is how you take accountability. The fifth question you could potentially ask yourself is, what is something I could have done better? Understand what that is and journal it. For example, we talked about the stop loss thing. Maybe you entered too early, right? Maybe you entered a couple seconds before your model formed. Maybe you took a trade that didn't offer a lot of risk to reward. Maybe you misread the market. You thought the higher time frame bias was bullish, but you didn't see that order flow was clearly bearish, for example. Whatever it was, write it down. Understand why. For example, if you were going against order flow and you got absolutely smoked trying to long a crazy reversal, write that down. I tried to long a reversal, right? But order flow was so bearish and I kept going long. Write that down, take accountability, and next time you won't make that same mistake again. So we talked about part 1, 2, and 3. 2 more parts of this video very quickly. Number 4, accountability tools. I have 2, very simple. Daily journaling, weekly reflections. That's it. That's all I use. How do I hold myself accountable? I journal every day. I reflect every single week, preferably Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. That is usually when I reflect. On the entire trading week, I reflect on my pre-market plans, my bias, my trade executions, and everything I may have need to improve. For example, last week or 2 weeks ago, I had a problem in that trading week where I hesitated on 2 setups. I reflected vividly, and I told you guys on live stream this exact same thing. I said I hesitated 2 trades last week. So this week going forward, I'm going to make sure I do not hesitate when my model forms. What did we end up doing? We didn't hesitate a single time last week. We won 3 trades and we got a payout. Weekly reflection is the first step to mastering your psychology. You need to trade in sync with your mind, and you won't be able to do that if you are not holding yourself accountable. Finally, some common accountability mistakes. I'm also going to copy paste this. Now, obviously, there are more tools that you can use. You can have a friend review your stuff. You can maybe, review every single session. Maybe you have a AI reviewing your stuff. I don't know. Maybe you can set up more questions for yourself. It's all up to you. This is just me passing on the information. Common accountability mistakes. Blaming market, news, broker, price action, friend, signal. Blaming anyone but yourself. Trading, you literally have a 100% control of what you do, when you enter, when you exit, what you decide to take, how much you decide to risk. You have 100% control. Do not blame anyone but yourself. You cannot. The market is not telling you to do anything. You are making every single decision on your own. Unless someone has kidnapped you and pushed the button on your account, you cannot blame anything but yourself. That is a very common mistake. Do not do it. You cannot improve if you do not blame yourself. Number 2, only journaling wins, avoiding losses. What the hell is the point of journaling if you're not going to journal the losses? People want to have a nice, pretty journal where they only journal the wins and they never journal the losses because it ruins the streak. So why are you journaling? What are you trying to improve? There's no point in journaling if you're going to avoid the losses. Take accountability, journal the loss, take it like a man or woman, and accept what you did and look to improve. That's the whole point of trading, okay? Saying I'll do better next time, but no actually plan for how. Just do. I don't even have to cover that one. If you say, whatever, next time I won't do this, you're going to do it again and again and again and again until you learn to take accountability, okay? Number 4, thinking that this was just a one-time mistake instead of recognizing patterns. A lot of you probably do this in backtest. A lot of probably do this in paper trading, probably with your accounts too. You take a trade, you're like, oh, I wouldn't actually take this one, or I would have actually held it break even, or oh, really, if it was real, I would have. You are making mistakes repeatedly, and there is a pattern, and you are not taking any accountability whatsoever. Okay, don't be that person that says, oh, but I would have done this differently, or I should have, would have, could. No, you are not that person. Okay, you made a mistake. Own up to it. Write it down and improve from that mistake, so you don't have to waste time doing that same mistake over and over and over and over and over again. All right. Pretty good video, right? 11 minutes. We covered everything about accountability, why it's the first step to psychology mastery. I hope you guys come back for the next episode, because next episode we're talking about discipline. Peace.